boom, we're off to the races.
The record? All right. You know, ironically, races, that's something Southern people care about. Weirdly. I don't know how that works. Anyway, hey, hello, what's up, and welcome into this week's episode of the Geek Garage Podcast. We are very excited for a couple of different reasons. First, because we are continuing our series on martial arts, and we're going to branch out a little bit. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Second, and probably more importantly, oh yes, hello, David. Sorry, you're here too.
I mean, I was waiting on the intro. I figured you'd get around to it eventually.
I just was going to just power right through it.
As you should.
Power right through it. Get to the end of it as quickly as possible and efficiently as possible.
Right.
Anyway, I'm Ted, joined as always by David, who you've already heard from. We are also excited to get back to that because we have a special guest joining us.
Yeah.
Who I only know as Ian. Hello, Ian.
Hello, it is I, Ian.
Hi.
I have returned.
The only Ian.
Hello, Ian.
The only Ian to ever exist in the entire multiverse.
That's
Yes.
true.
Finally,
I am a
yes.
Nexus being.
Finally, the Holy Triumvirate.
Yes. Holy
Emerges
Trinity.
from the ether or whatever.
I mean, David and Ian, similar names, just different, origins.
right.
They mean the same thing, right? If Ted just became John, we'd really be the same person.
Which
Boy, have I got news for you.
his name is actually John.
Well,
Yeah.
there we go.
It's also David, and it's also Tim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's complicated and very, very Catholic. Moving right along.
Yes.
Where were we? Oh yes, this is part 3 of our martial arts month. Welcome to the podcast, Ian. I am terribly sorry for everything that's
you.
about to happen.
No, it's okay. I've listened to many times, and I'm very excited to be here because I've wanted to meet you for the longest time. So now I see.
Well, that's very kind and also incorrect, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay. Cool.
It's like the first.
How dare you think
it's
that?
like the first non-Marvel and non-comic book episode that you're guest on, which is super exciting. Just to, change
I
it
know.
up, change up the topic.
I know.
Branching out.
I know. I'm just reaching out from the comic pages.
Yeah, gotta reach outside the wheelhouse. So yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, Ted,
All
you
right.
can continue.
I was trying to make that a Depeche Mode reference, and I was like, Ted, nobody's going to get that but you. That's way too esoteric.
Yep.
Like I said, covering part 3 of Martial Arts Month, we're branching out, and we're going to be covering 2 amazing movies. The Raid Redemption and Ong Bak, the Thai Warrior, or Muay Thai Warrior. I can't remember what the subtitle is on that one. These focus on fighting styles of Silat, which is pronounced incorrectly, I'm sure, and Muay Thai, respectively. Gentlemen,
Start your engine.
are you excited? Yes. Also,
May
it's
the
the
best
engine starting.
woman.
That is a good. Yes.
Sorry,
I'm very
I've been
confused
watching
by
a
what's
lot of Drag
happening
Race.
right
No, I watch
Okay,
a lot
all right,
of Drag
well.
Race, and I was just quoting it. And sorry, sometimes my
That's okay.
gay Southeast Asian personality comes through. So
Yeah,
You know what? You let that out all you
great.
want. pal.
It is Pride Month.
Another gay Asian stereotype.
You know what the world really needs is drag queens doing drag races.
I
Like
truly
actual
would.
drag races.
I will pay to see that.
I would
want
watch
to
the
see
I
shit
will-
out of that.
I will pay to make that happen. In fact, that is my $1 million idea. I swear to God, if I turn on the TV next week and somebody's showing the pilot for drag queens drag racing, I will fight everyone in the world.
I mean,
Make sure RuPaul doesn't hear about it.
I mean,
because
didn't
RuPaul has
they-
the money to do that.
Didn't they just
true.
open back up the Nashville Super Speedway?
Yes, they did, because there were a bunch of signs out there that were like, come hang out. There's apparently some big party this weekend. I know that because I work right over by that.
Yeah.
That is the most personal information I've ever shared on the podcast.
Now we can triangulate your position.
Right.
Apparently,
Triangulate my position.
Yeah, now we got to shut her down.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, everybody. Have fun. Okay, a couple quick things before we hit on the movies we're going to discuss. First, again, Ian, thank you for being here. That's very cool. I know you're a repeat guest. This is the first
Thank
time
you.
our paths have crossed, but
Yes.
I know David speaks and thinks very highly of you, so glad that you're
Aw.
here.
thank you.
We would also like to extend a thank you to all of our subscribers, both old and new. For the old ones, well, you get nothing. You're here already. But for the new ones, thank you for joining us. You will soon regret that decision, but as for now, welcome.
And you're trapped.
You've made a terrible mistake. Yes,
For
now
the
you're
old
trapped.
ones, you can sign up for AARP at any age.
Yes, apparently we discovered that. You don't have to be over 50. You can be any age. It's $12 a year.
Yes.
I feel like that's worth $12 a year just to find out what goes on behind the closed AARP doors. I can only speak for myself.
Yeah,
here,
and you'll get
but-
those real glossy magazines mailed to your home
That's true.
address on
That's
a
true.
pretty regular basis. With the
David knows because he is an actual AARP member.
I am. I was coaxed into it by an AT&T.
By a pushy salesman.
He was like, you know what you should do? You know what would be hilarious is if you sign up for AARP. Oh, well,
bro, hear me out though.
will that give me like discounts on my cell phone bill? No, it'd just be funny.
Imagine going to the meetings. You're like everybody's grandson. It's weird, right? No? It's $12, man. It's worth it. Anyway.
Anyway,
we're all over the place today. So some quick
love it.
background on the martial arts that we're going to be covering. Silat, traditionally practiced in areas of Southeast Asia, like Brunei, which is probably pronounced incorrectly. I am too tired to care. Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Southern Philippines, and Southern
Yay.
Vietnam.
Fun fact,
is
I'm from
focused-
Singapore.
All right,
Sorry.
well, are you a Silat expert, and is that an offensive question to ask in that order?
I am not a Silat expert. I never learned martial arts, contrary
Hmm.
to popular stereotypes.
Is that a popular gay stereotype that they're excellent martial artists?
Oh no! Contrary to the other popular stereotype
Oh.
that I am Southeast Asian.
Oh,
so
I was excited for a second because we talked about the potential for a gay wuxia film the other day, and both David and I were very excited in that.
I would love that. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
The drama.
that
It
would be
crazy.
excellent.
It would be too dramatic, if
It would,
anything.
it would be too dramatic. It would just be flowers and explosions and rainbows.
You want to talk about melodrama? Boom, there it is. And I would be
Anyways.
there opening fucking night.
I will be with you with my knowledge of Silat now, apparently,
Yes.
because I don't know anything about it.
Well, buddy, have I got news for you because we have notes on it.
Oh yes, tell me.
Very few notes. Not to brag or
like
anything.
the bare minimum of notes. It focuses on countering strikes and moving into relatively brutal responses. So break, strikes, chokes, that end with your opponent down and you standing, which is the purpose of all martial arts, I think.
Typically.
David felt the need to put that in the notes, so we're going to go with it.
Actually, good sir, I'd like to point out that was a copy paste. So I'd like to blame whoever.
Wikipedia put that in the notes, so we're going to go.
No, I found that on what is that? Quora. It starts with a Q. QUORA.
Like
Wow.
Legend of Korra?
No.
That's a different kind of bending.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I just typed in I think I typed in Silat versus Muay Thai because I know that they're relatively similar and they have some similarities, which is redundant. Shut the fuck up, David. But
No, you're doing great.
no, thanks,
Totally
Ian.
fine.
Keep going.
Huzzah. But yeah, I typed that into the Google machine and then I got that Quora article where the guy was describing it was mainly a breakdown of why Silat is not more commonly practiced like Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu or anything like that, and it's it seemed like it was for a number of reasons. But
Yeah, I think one of those has to be the marketing because Muay Thai
Yes.
sounds badass and Silat sounds like a rejected name for I don't know, but a rejected name of something.
yeah.
I was going somewhere with that. We'll edit that out. David, what's the timestamp?
Gotta write it down. 9 minutes.
9. Fuck it. No one cares. Muay Thai.
This will be probably 3 hours long because of the fact that I am here today. by the way.
That's all right. I am going on. I actually got a good night's sleep last night. I'm not going to lie about it. But I worked a long day today,
Oh,
and I'm dead
congratulations.
inside. So, yes.
Oh, don't die.
Yes. I often like to brag that I get one good night to sleep. But, Anyway, Muay Thai, also known as the art of 8 limbs, as it is characterized by, you're not going to believe this, guys, the combined use of your limbs.
Yes.
Fists, elbows, knees, and
Oh.
shins. Yeah. Yeah, that's not just a clever name.
Shins.
Yeah.
Right. Knees and
Fists,
shins,
elbows,
yeah.
knees, and shins, knees and shins. Anyway.
Yep. There we go. Thank
yeah.
you.
See, somebody got it.
got
Muay Thai is probably most popularly known as what a lot of MMA guys train in
Mhm.
poorly, because then they try to wrestle with it, and it's weird.
Ah.
It just doesn't work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, is there like grappling in Muay Thai? Is that kind of what you're
there
alluding
is,
to?
but it's not like the ground grappling like with wrestling or
Sure.
with like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something like that. So
I gotcha.
the grappling in Muay Thai is more like collar and elbow. Well, not collar and elbow, but more standing grappling to get closer with the striking.
I gotcha.
Yeah, Muay Thai is hardcore shit. Basically, is the way we're going to talk about that one. So, like we said at the top, we have 2 movies to cover today: The Raid Redemption and Ong Bak. Which one would you, lovely people, like to cover first?
Let's do Ong Bak.
Ong Bak.
All right.
That was the first one I watched, at least.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes.
So, going off the top of the head, Ong Bak is a 2003-ish film starring Tony Jaa, who is a legitimate badass in a lot of different ways. It is about Jaa's character who goes after someone who has left his village and stolen something from it, trying to get it back.
They stole Ong Bak.
Yeah,
they stole Ong Bak.
They stole his
motherfuckers
head.
stole Ong Bak.
They stole his fucking head, and he's like,
They stole Buddha.
I will literally not stand for this, and neither will Ong Bak. So,
well, it's complicated, but anyway, they take it. He tries to go get it back, and he's kind of country mouse in the city, I think is a fair way of putting that. But luckily for him, he came armed with enough knee strikes to kill most of what appears to be Bangkok.
Yes.
You missed a golden opportunity to say he came armed with his arms.
Oh.
But
wow.
That was probably on purpose because that joke was not even really a joke. So please continue, Ted.
Make a timestamp to edit.
Don't leave me as my co-host, please. This podcast has come such a long way with you. Please don't leave me.
That's a quick and dirty synopsis of the film. Ian, David.
Yes.
Yes.
Loved it.
Yes.
It was.
That is the correct answer. Thank you. That is our discussion of Ong Bak.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad I got to be here. Anyway, it was great.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
Yeah, I thought it was. When I watched it with my boyfriend, and my boyfriend actually knows Thai, so it was interesting that he told me some random fun facts. The village that he comes from, they speak a dialect of Thai, but the moment they go into Bangkok, they start speaking Thai, the main language Thai. So
right, that's cool.
I thought that was a really interesting, like, differential distinction, rather.
No, definitely, that's awesome.
Yeah, other than that, it's a beautiful. I love Muay Thai because of, like, its movements. It's really sharp kind of movements, and its choreography, even though it's not choreography, it's actual fighting. But when they like make a fight choreo scene, it looks like throughout the whole entire movie, they're actually kind of showcasing what Muay Thai can deal with in different scenarios, especially when it gets to Bangkok and he's fighting all these different people.
And like in the fight club.
Yeah, one has like pure strength, one is about speed, one is about like raw environment. And I love that it showcases that Muay Thai can kind of shift to each different kind of perspective when it comes to dealing with different types of fighting. So I really appreciated that part.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because, and I'm glad you bring it up because, in the previous films we've discussed or the previous episodes we've done on this, the martial arts are, especially with Wuxia films, very like dramatically choreographed and like aesthetically choreographed so that they're designed to be beautiful. Whereas with Ong Bak, it still has that inherent beauty just because it's like, basically peak physical conditioning, for these people, but it's done in a way that it's not about the beauty as much. It's about the practicality and like the economy of movement, like you were mentioning with it, which I agree is a great departure from your standard sort of martial arts film where it's like with Enter the Dragon, it's like, oh, Bruce Lee wants to look as badass as possible, when not like he needed a lot of help, or like with Wuxia, like I said, where it's a little more dramatic and effervescent.
Yeah, that makes sense. And better in any way
that's right.
that I could possibly do.
David's here too. Hello, David.
Welcome back,
Yes,
David.
I am also here. And we're back.
Yeah. What did you think, David?
So I really liked it. I I didn't really know what to expect. I haven't seen too many Muay Thai movies. I haven't seen too many Jaw movies. So I yeah, like I said, I wasn't too sure exactly what I was up against, but I actually really enjoyed like the choreography and just the overall fighting style of Muay Thai. It was a lot. Um, it was like a lot more flying kicks and like jump maneuvering than I was anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I one thing that I kind of noticed is like Muay Thai seems to be, or a lot of the fundamentals of it are carried over into like other, like I felt like I've seen a lot of it in like the fight scenes in like Marvel movies and other like just action movies where there's, like, you know, combat between two people, like Black Widow. Like I feel like she probably had like a bit of Muay Thai training,
Mm.
or at least like some of the fundamentals like worked into her training. I could be wrong, but it seemed like there was some similarities that I picked up on there. Um, I fucking loved how like he just walks into the ring accidentally, and they're like, "All right, well you're gonna fight this guy," and then he just takes him down with like one kick.
Just wrecks the dude.
I was like I audibly shouted at my TV like, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah. That's the correct reaction, by the way.
Yeah, I was like, "Well, he's dead."
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. There's some severe brain damage at the very least.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's another good point that kind of goes in with what Ian had mentioned, where the choreography in this, you really feel, you can really feel almost that that these are damaging maneuvers. With some of the other
yeah.
films, like I said, they're a little more flowing and beautiful, and you're like, this looks amazing, but like I feel like I could probably take that punch. You know what I mean? Whereas
Mhm.
you see
Yeah.
Tony Jaa hit someone, and you're like, I feel like I just broke my leg watching this. Like, it's a different kind of choreography, and it works in my
Yeah,
opinion.
straight up was just eating a tub of ice cream the whole entire time I was watching it, and I was just like, "Wow, he is so fit, and I'm just eating ice cream." And-
Yeah, that was I mean, Ian, I know you mentioned that you had listened to the other martial arts episodes
Mhm.
that I've done. You reminded me of what I my comments on 36 Chamber of Shaolin, like
Yeah.
I just felt like a lazy piece of shit as he's like carrying the buckets like this. I'm just like, wow, I need to like get outside and like run for like 2 minutes
When was the
I
last time I
maybe.
even walked somewhere?
I'm too
Yeah, pretty
lazy. I'm
much.
too lazy to learn a martial arts skill of
Mm.
any sort. I don't know what I would do with it, honestly. But another thing I really liked about the film was actually like kind of a decent story.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
like I thought it was very interesting that the main arc and character development that happens is not about the dude that is fighting. It is actually about
Mhm.
his cousin. I think it was his cousin
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is like the comic
yeah.
relief of the show.
Mhm.
That it's the whole like he turned his back and he left for Bangkok, and like he's a bad like gangster dude now that's trying to escape the world that he kind of went into. And
Mhm.
will he betray his family again, or will he go back to Buddha, kind of a deal. Which is
Right.
Right.
interesting to see that transition, because the main character um doesn't really do much like character development. Like I think
In
Tony
fact, no
Jaa,
character development.
yeah, Tony Jaa's just
Yeah,
there
he's
and he's just like, "Hey, I'm here to do good things. Why are you being a bad person? Let me fight for you."
Yeah. I am
yeah.
here to sing the praises of Buddhism and break as many bones as possible.
Yes.
And I am all out of praises of Buddhism.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. Like, I don't think it's a stretch to say that your average martial arts movie is very low on plot. Uh,
Mhm.
a lot of them, as we've mentioned, and as fans of the genre know, like there's like your 5 basic storylines for a martial arts film, and most of
Mhm.
them are like revenge or getting a stolen item back, or
Yeah.
something pretty pretty standard and
Pretty
boilerplate.
simple.
And
Yeah.
this one is
Yeah.
similar to that. Like we talked about, he's going to get the statue back and restore peace and order and harmony to the village and things like that. But it does kind of subvert it in a way where the main character doesn't really have that. He has somewhat of a hero's journey, but the real character development is, like you said, with his cousin who goes from shunning that part of his life and trying to bury it as the past, and being the city guy now and the cool guy in the city. But what we see, like, that's definitely an air he puts on or presents himself with. Like, he's kind of a dweeb,
Yeah.
with a possible gambling problem.
Also,
yes, definite gambling problem.
I don't know if maybe it might be a cultural thing, but like the character that he plays, the cousin plays, I think his name is like Humle. I can't remember if that's the real name, but he's kind of he's a typical, like, at least for me when I watched a lot of Asian TV or dramas, typical comedic like caricature. Like he's
Right.
kind of like the uncle or auntie kind of character that isn't portrayed as like, kind of tough but not really tough. He's all talk no bite, and he's
Right.
just
Right.
always getting into trouble, and he's always just like, kind of silly and goofy and like just dirty. And he, for me at least, understanding like the tones in like Mandarin a little bit and hearing it through other languages like Cantonese and like, Thai, I get the comedic bits when he says them, like when he says the comedic line. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting that they were doing that with him.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and that's, if I can say this without being an insensitive jerk off.
You're fine.
No, I think it's definitely good to get a different perspective on it. You've mentioned a couple of things that like I would have never picked up on. I've seen this movie like 8 times, and I'm just like, wow, I'm learning new things about it and with the language, and I'm forgetting exactly what you mentioned earlier. Oh, with the dialects.
Which
your
I mean,
boyfriend had mentioned,
Ian, that's high praise, and you should take that because I've recorded like 75 episodes with Ted, and I have never heard anything like that. Like, wow, David, you really like opened my eyes to that. Like, that has never happened. It's in fact the opposite.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
David,
normally it's like, wow, David,
eyes.
this thing I loved is now dead to me because of you.
I will never go bowling again, good sir.
Yeah.
Good day.
Good day, sir.
I said good day.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Speaking specifically of the actor Tony Jaa, he's a very interesting case to me because he kind of breaks out on the scene and people are calling him like the next Jackie Chan because he does all his own stunts and there's no wires and there's no, like safety nettings or what have you, and he's doing, which is one of the reasons I love this movie and so much, is that like he literally jumps up and kicks a light out of a fucking light pole. That's meanwhile, like you said, I'm sitting on my couch eating Cheetos like, that's cool. And then like at the height of his stardom, he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go be a monk now, peace," and just like joins a temple and dedicates his life to being a Buddhist. That's king shit. I don't care who you are.
I mean, he took to heart the story of Ong Bak, really, because that's what he was supposed to do in the first place. Yeah. His teacher was a monk, and he was just like, now that I taught you Muay Thai, you can't use it. And I was like, whoa, first 5 minutes of the film, and we're not going to see Muay Thai after he learns it.
I don't think I like this movie. And then the rest of it is like, all right, you got me, you fuckers.
One thing that I really liked about this movie is like the passive cultural like innuendo that you learn, like how he's leaving, like you get the idea that like not a whole lot of people leave the village, like there's not really a need to, they live off of a dirt path. A truck pulls up and there's like no other cars around, and as he's leaving, like it seems like everyone that lives in the village is like surrounding him, and they're all like giving him what little money they have so he can like survive out in the world. So like I feel like it was an opportunity to kind of learn about how like these little small villages and in Asia that exist that um just have like this crazy reverence for like the Buddha and
Oh yeah.
just kind of do their own thing.
In
Like it's
Yeah, in Thailand especially, Buddha is revered.
Mm.
mhm.
They don't care who you are, where you come from. If you disrespect Buddha in any way, shape, or form, it is like to the jail to you. you know,
Mm.
it.
Which is why it was such a huge deal when the head went missing,
Yes, it
right?
is very sacred to them, which is why, I think the grandma, or there was an old lady that was like crying to the
Yeah.
gods,
Yeah.
and they thought the
Wailing. Yeah.
village, the village would suffer because, the head was gone, like Ong Bak was taken. And so they were like, I guess we're going to die now because Buddha just, we forsaken him and somebody stole his head. Like, to them, it's
Right.
very real. And I think
Mm.
it's also, this film is a really nice introduction, not introduction, but at least like a peek into Thailand. I can't represent Thailand because I'm not from Thailand, but like from being from Singapore and understanding what I know of Thailand, there is like a huge disparity between like classes
Hmm.
in Thailand, the rich and
Mm.
the poor, the city and like the village. And so
Yeah.
it is a drastic shift, and I like that they showed that, and like how it affects different people, and when they come from the village they don't want to be known as the village person. So
Right. Yeah, and even in the city, it kind of looked a little run down. Like when he ventures from his little village to the city, like I was expecting like a pretty decent step up in like the quality of life, and it's like no, it's still like it, everywhere you
it's a
go, it looks
struggle.
like the basement of Fight Club.
Yeah, it is a struggle in that area. And also, what I thought was interesting was the diversity in the club too, because like one of the main dudes he had to like beat
Yeah,
was this white dude, and I was just like, okay, what's this white dude doing here? And then he had an Australian
who
accent, and I
literally
was like, oh, that makes sense now. He came from Australia, like Thailand and Australia, super close, you know. So
and he literally could not stop throwing shit.
he could
Like
not.
that was his one move.
Yeah.
He
Like was just picking up stuff and throwing it.
I was just ready for him to go down. I was just like, this guy just keeps talking shit and literally called like Thai people weak and like their women whores. So I was just like, okay, just kick
Yeah,
this guy's ass. Like, I'm
Yeah.
ready.
yeah.
He got his
Was that the
comeuppance.
same dude? Yeah, was that the same dude that like backhanded the waitress or whatever?
He was like groping her, like literally took a drink that wasn't his that she was holding.
Right. What a
Yeah.
dick.
They really
That's where I draw the line is taking other people's
No, where I
drinks.
draw the line is that emo chain link that he was having from his little belt to like his wallet in his pants. That's where I draw the line.
man,
I
it was
like,
2003. That was still cool. It was
It was a different, time, man. It was a
Mistakes were
weird
made.
time.
Everybody was doing ecstasy. I don't know, man.
True.
Australians were not known for their fashion. Still aren't.
This is what
Sorry,
you get when you
Australia.
have a bunch of ex-convicts that populate an island and start a country. Is shitty fashion
Yeah.
trends.
Yeah.
Now that we've
That's
offended the
exactly
entirety of
what you get.
Australia,
Yes.
anything else? any other things you want to talk about with Ong Bak?
No, I love the beautiful irony of the head gangster being crushed by the Buddha head
By the
that
head,
he was
yes.
stealing.
That
That
was
is called poetic justice.
Yes.
yeah, right. And it's also not a good way to get ahead in life.
Ah, ha, 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 ha. I
Ah.
think
really-
he found the joke.
Really,
Um,
I try and I try.
one last thing I will say about the movie. It has interesting editing. Me and my boyfriend were talking about it, but apparently when it aired in different countries, um, the editing was slightly different. There was a subplot that Humle has with his little, I think like the friend that he has, the female like
Mhm.
assistant that he goes on does like stealing gigs with. She has a sister who apparently like is either a prostitute or part of a gang. The one that died through overdose in the scene where what's his face, um when Tony Jaa was like going to get the main dude that stole Ong Bak.
Mm.
He broke into the apartment, and he like right as he did that, one of the girls in the bed was like ODing on cocaine because the gangster dude like basically smothered her with it and forced her to take it. But apparently that girl was like the sister to one of the other girlfriends um that was the cousin,
Mm.
Hamle, and they edited that out from the US version. Um, and so, because I thought it was interesting when I was watching the film, he was calling out to her by name, and I was like, how does he know this girl's name
Right.
that's dying in the bed? This
Yeah.
is the first time he's seen her. Why is he saying her name? And I was just like, oh, it makes sense now because they edited that part out for the
Mm.
US, but they kept it in for other countries. And yeah, I just thought that it was an interesting thing to do for a film.
I didn't pick up on that because I'm an idiot.
That's okay. You just
I
have
mean,
to read the subtitles.
yeah,
Just kidding.
It's not.
Oh, yeah, that means you just got to be able to read.
Well,
So thanks,
You're
Ian, for
welcome.
rubbing that in.
It's sad
I'm
now.
sorry. I'm not gonna gang up on you anymore. I'm sorry.
No, please continue. It's nice to have a partner in crime to do that with. I mean, that's not an uncommon practice to edit movies and have different cuts for different places of the world. Sometimes for more cynical reasons than that. But I'd be curious as to why they did that for the U.S. market, because that's pretty. I don't want to say it's pretty
Yeah.
tame, because I mean that's like a heavy subplot. But I mean, as far as other plots in films, that's pretty benign. In my opinion.
Yeah.
So I could see that being
Maybe for
something cut
time.
out for. It was 2003. I don't know. I could see that being
Yeah.
cut out for a more, I guess, conservative sort of
Yeah.
nation. But the U.S. is pretty.
Pretty down for the cocaine.
Yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah,
trying to think of a
we're
classier
not
way to
shy
say it, but
about
no,
having-
no, we're all just a bunch of junkies. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not shy about having drugs. I mean, Requiem for a Dream was definitely out before this movie came
Yeah,
out. So
still have PTSD from that.
yeah, that is a one and done film.
That is a
right
great
there,
movie. I will never ever watch again.
my friends.
Oh my
Mhm.
goodness.
In fact, it is.
David, any final thoughts on Ong Bak?
If you haven't seen it,
Yeah,
go
it's
watch
on
it.
Hulu, right? Is that what we decided? Yeah, it's
Yes,
on Hulu right
it
now.
is.
On
It is right
Hulu.
now on.
You can probably
Hulu.
also buy the DVD for like 12 cents somewhere. It's been out for a while. It's a great film. I like all of Jaws movies. He did actually make a comeback after being a monk for a while.
Nice.
He had another film that came out shortly after this one called The Protector, which is really good. It's
heard about
it's
that.
a bit more action oriented and it goes a little crazier, but that's a great one. I highly recommend that one as well. Unfortunately, not streaming anywhere for rent. At least you have to buy that.
Yeah, I typed that shit in Just Watch, and it was like, sorry,
Yeah.
bro. I got
Try again,
nothing.
douchebag. But yeah, it's a great one. I actually I had it on DVD, and then I was like, what am I, some kind of poor person? So I upgraded to Blu-ray, and I just bought it. I'm gonna probably actually watch it after we finish recording if I have any energy left.
Where did you find it? Do you remember?
What, the Blu-ray copy?
Did you get it at McKay's?
No,
Yeah.
I bought it online. I just ordered it online.
Oh, okay. So it's just not hard. It's not hard to find. It's just kind of hard to find streaming.
Yeah, it's probably tied up in some rights issues as far as streaming goes, but you can find a physical copy of it fairly easily. I found a few different sources
Okay.
with it and bought one.
Yeah, that's one thing that pisses me off about Amazon is like if you go to Amazon and like type in the name of a movie, you have to go through like 5 different back channels of like clicking around to find the physical copy of that movie. I'm like, why? It doesn't need to be this hard to like say I want the physical copy, not the digital copy, or rent this goddamn movie. Like I just want to buy the physical.
Yeah, unfortunately,
copy.
I think physical medium is a dying.
Starting to die
dying,
out. Yeah.
No,
I will.
You just
don't do it.
I will go down with
support
that.
your local businesses.
Yeah,
Go
that's a good one
go
too, yeah.
support like your local stores. They most of the time I feel like they're the ones that have a lot of the cool physical copies of things.
There's also a lot of
Yeah.
cool, and this is kind of maybe not antithetical, but definitely not to support local, but support small businesses at least. A lot of
Yes.
boutique type DVD and video stores have popped up, or distributors have popped up, and you can find some really cool special edition stuff for some underappreciated films. That way, I've got a couple from different suppliers that are very cool, and support them because they're doing cool shit, and it's better than throwing money at Jeff Bezos. Anyway, moving
fuck that
right
guy.
He
along.
retired.
Okay, well, still though.
Yeah, whatever.
To space, hopefully.
Speaking of him in space, did you guys see the petition where people are like, let him go to space, but don't let him come back?
And stay there? Yeah. I was like, shit, where is that petition? Because I will sign that.
Ultimately
10 times
meaningless,
over.
but very funny nonetheless.
Yes.
Yes,
Moving right
it is
along,
funny.
the Raid Redemption. Where to even start with this movie?
That is. It was a lot.
Yeah.
I watched it today. It was a lot.
You kind of want to take a nap afterwards, you know?
I was so tense and exhausted after watching it. I have many thoughts and comments about this.
Good.
Mostly great. I think it's a great action movie. I was just I was yelling at the screen the whole time. Really, that was what I was doing. The amount of time
Get away from the windows.
I texted David and I was just like, the amount of times I had to yell at the TV to say, get away from the fucking window is too many. You'd think they would learn by now,
and yet,
but no, they just kept, and yet they kept going to the windows to die. I was just very frustrated at that point.
To the window.
Not a lot of smart people in the movie, but a lot of badasses.
No, a lot of like cannon fodder. Really, I was just like, wow. I guess I couldn't tell who was the main character at first, but then I was like, well, now we've.
It's the only guy who's alive. It has to be, right?
Yeah. It felt like it wanted to be a horror movie at times. It felt like it wanted to be a zombie movie at times for some reason. It's like it felt very claustrophobic, which was great.
I agree 100%.
The way it was the way it was filmed just gave me like intense nerves of scaredness. Like I was just like, okay.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things I wanted to talk about is how, despite being a martial arts movie, this is almost like the anti-martial arts movie because it's filmed so differently. Like, it's ugly. And I mean that in a complimentary way, but it's everything is like disgusting because it's like a rundown, project apartment building. It's got this weird,
I thought it was like the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, it's got this
like
weird
the Walking Dead vibes.
Right. It's got this weird like gray filter.
Yeah.
So everything's like washed out.
Yeah.
The choreography is ugly. Again, not in a negative way, in the sense that like you really feel the action in this film. You really like it. Well,
the camera moves with the action.
It's very kinetic. It's very frenetic. The first sentence I could think of to describe this movie when I was writing a review for it on a blog from a lifetime ago, it's basically a fight or flight dose of adrenaline as caught on film. It's just like the entire time you're on edge. The entire time you're just like, what else can they do to this fucking guy? Like, how many more creative ways are there to kill a person in this film? Let's find them all.
It's like a weird, it's like Saw meets zombie apocalypse meets martial arts film. Like, it was so entertaining to watch, but also very nerve-wracking.
It's very nerve-wracking. It's very draining. This is one of the few movies that at the end of it, I'm like, oh goddamn, I need a Gatorade and a cigarette. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, a very simple, effective plot, might I say? Like, it starts off literally at like 60 miles an hour. It's just like, you see this dude. He's training in the morning, and he gets into a truck full of police officers.
Yeah, like a SWAT van.
Like, listen here. Yeah, we're here to catch this bad dude that has owns this entire tenement building, and like nobody has ever got him. So we're here to get him, and like just be really careful. And they keep talking about how bad he is and how dangerous it is, and I'm just like, okay, I guess, but you have a whole entire SWAT team, but I guess you need that for this.
Like we've talked about. We've talked about with all the martial arts movies we covered so far about, the a typical trope is like the simplicity of the plot, and I think they do that really well with this movie. Like it's, Ian, you just mentioned this, like it's so simple, and like this movie does a great job of like running with that,
Yeah.
and like making every use of or taking advantage of having a very simple plot, and just focusing on the action. And
Yeah.
it's like everyone has a fucking
Mhm.
license to kill in this movie. Like everyone just wants to kill everybody, and
I
like it's nothing but knees and elbows for
Mhm.
like 90 minutes, and I fucking love it.
it was yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster ride, I will say.
Yeah. And it has like good peaks and valleys too. Like this was only like maybe my second or third time watching it. Um and yeah, like, there's a couple moments where it like slows down, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot, like it kind of gets chill for a minute. But yeah, it,
Right
it
back up.
picks
Yeah.
right back up.
Yeah. I think it does a good job of balancing. Like it definitely takes you to the edge and then kind of backs you away and then rushes you right back to it. But
Yeah.
it's not like some other films that are just like go 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 from the stop. So that by the end of it, you're just like, God, I just want this movie to fucking end. It gives you enough of a
Yeah.
breather
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
still be invested and still want to know and want more. Something I've always thought was kind of funny. This is an interesting bit of trivia, in my opinion, at least, is that so this was made by Gareth Evans, who's Dutch, I think. He was filming a documentary when he discovered Iko Uwais, who plays Rama, the main character, or Iko Uwais, I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce it, who had like a martial arts studio. He wasn't an actor. He was just like a practicing martial artist and had a gym or what have you where he trained. And he was like, "Hey, you want to make movies? Because you're fucking legit." Like, and so it kind of just launched, his career. Iko Uwais is a very interesting guy as well. Very devout, very religious, and has a lot of things that he refuses to do in movies and wants to be portrayed a certain way, which I respect. I respect the hell out of that he's got a code that he follows. That's very cool. But
I mean, he's named Rama anyway.
Yeah.
Like the god.
yeah.
I think Rama
He's-
is a god.
In Hindu, I believe. Yeah.
Can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, kind of on the nose, but I see you. You're the good guy. You're the
Yeah.
good cop. Because they literally had a good cop, bad cop
Yeah.
moment.
I will say, like, the twist where the bad cop is like, you find out he is the bad cop, like he's in bed with the guy, and you're just kind of like, that's the one part of the movie where I'm like, okay, I get it. You have to do that. There's got to be somebody. I get it.
Mhm. Like he
Yeah,
even
but
looks like
it's
the
it's
bad
the
guy.
yeah, it's the one part of the movie where I'm
Eyebrows.
just kind of like, all right, kind of. I don't want to say it's like eye
Sub-Zero.
rolly, but it's kind of like, all right, I get it. We have to do this, but I wish we didn't. Like,
Yeah.
For me personally. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna add a random thought of this. Like, I texted David too. I was just like, "Oh, Sub-Zero died again."
Yeah.
Because I watched the recent remake of Mortal Kombat, and he plays Sub-Zero in that eyebrows man, and I was just like, "It's him. I recognize him."
He's been in quite a few movies, martial arts movies and action movies. He does die in this one too, as well as in Mortal Kombat. He's in a really great one that I also recommend that I almost picked for this, but I was like, well, we've already got the Raid. I don't want to cover too many of the same like production companies or guys or what have you. So, but it's called The Night Comes for Us, and that is a very, very good, very, very bloody action movie. So highly recommend it for that as well. I forgot what we were talking about until we started talking about that. So my bad, everybody.
No, you're fine.
We're talking about the Raid.
I think I will say it is very bloody. It took me a hot second to adjust back to that amount of blood. Like, I'm used to it normally, like because of Game of Thrones, but like it took me a hot second to be like, wow, literally blood splatter. I see it from the head. From that bullet. Cool. And also, we are shooting children in this movie.
They go hard. They go hard.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, the child can't possibly be. Nope, the child is definitely a bad guy, and now we have to kill the child. Oops.
Our bad.
And slow mo that bullet. Slow mo the bullet. I was just like, okay, we're doing that.
gratuitous, but ultimately necessary.
And yeah, when it finally got to the martial arts part, that's when I really, really started loving it, because I wasn't sure at first with all of like the shooting, because I was like, this feels more like an action movie right
Right.
now. But
Yeah,
when the Salat
it does.
came in, I was like, okay, and now I'm on board. I see where it comes through. I love the movements. I love how fast it is. I like that
Mhm.
it is kind of reminiscent to Muay Thai, but it is a little bit different. And I feel like it has a lot of more counter strikes than Muay Thai does. And it has a lot of like very close quarter, like elbow knee movements that kind of pull and push the person, and they move very, very quickly. And they kind of
Yeah.
almost reminds me a little bit of like, how Avatar Last Airbender, when Aang was like, how Aang fights, he always like rotates his hands and his arms, and it's always like spinning kind of motions.
Oh, okay.
It's what it reminds me of at times, because when he's like dodging all these guys with machetes and like flipping and turning and getting the machete out of their hands to get it in his hand, and it's just like, you know, um, a beautiful dance, but also very gritty.
You are the only person who's ever compared this film to Avatar: The Last Airbender. So,
Of
congratulations.
course, leave it
That
to
is,
me.
I'm not even kidding. That's impressive. That is a great pull.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we
Compliment
get it,
number
David.
2.
Compliment number 2.
I'll say something nice
Color
about
me
you when
jealous.
it's earned, David. How's that?
You know what? Go fuck yourself, Terry.
Well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I remember hearing about this movie when it came out, and everybody just being like, "You have to watch it. If you like action movies, you have to see it. It's like the greatest action movie of all time." Blah 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 blah. And while I don't think it's the greatest action movie of all time, I think it's in the discussion. It's on the short list, in my
Yes,
opinion.
I agree.
John Wick 3 holds that title.
John Wick 3. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Masterpiece.
That is probably my pick too. Maybe there's some recency bias there, but damn, that movie's good.
Probably. But I'm with you. With you.
We have thoughts on that coming up in,
we are
in
valid.
episode
all right.
number 4. Or in part number 4. We'll talk about John Wick.
I love
then.
John Wick.
Because
We've
we
only
haven't
done like
talked
3
enough
episodes
about
on it.
John Wick
We're
on
gonna
this
keep milking that fucking horse or cow, I guess, beating the horse and milking the cow. Milk the
Yeah, milk the horse.
Any mammal.
any mammal.
I'm
I
not
think,
sure if
yeah.
you're going to want to drink that milk, but
I think, yeah.
I don't know that I want to test that theory, but anyway.
anyways,
continuing back to the raid.
Please.
I love
yeah.
I love the kind of Saw vibes it gives me, a lot of the different traps, all the cameras in the hallways, keeping track of people. I have a question about the exploding refrigerator. I want to know if that's legitimately possible. When he was like, you know what, I'm going to take this gas canister from this stove, put it into this empty fridge, put it up against the door, throw a grenade in it, and turn the open side door of the fridge to explode it out into a
I'm
hallway.
going to say no.
Will that?
But it looks
Okay.
really cool.
That's what I thought. It looked great. I was like, wow, what a way to, stop a horde of zombies or people. But like, I was like, wouldn't that just explode the whole entire room?
It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to look badass. That's
Sure.
the rule.
Okay.
That's the rule.
Okay.
Yes.
And second question, what happened to the neighbor snipers? Did they just they were like, okay, we're done.
They're
Bye.
hourly, and they hit lunch, and that was it.
Yeah. They were like, we got these dudes.
They're
I can
union,
go back
so they were
home
like,
now.
no, the union contract says 4 hours and we're done.
I don't have to do this past 4
Do I need to
PM,
call the
bro.
steward down?
I start packing up my my sniper rifle at 3:58.
Right.
After that, it's your problem.
David, any other thoughts on the raid?
Man, my one. I don't know why this is a favorite moment. It's definitely one of those like oh shit moments that I yell at my TV. When he I'm pretty sure he throws the dude off of the.
He throws him off of one level down to the next level.
Kind of looks like
on the
Yeah, and
on
breaks
the
his
banister
back on
or
like
the
the
barrier or
banister.
whatever.
Yeah, I was like totally forgot that part happened. I was like, holy
Yeah.
fuck. Like, it
Mm.
just looks so real.
He
And I
killed that
was
guy for
like,
real. That's not a stunt.
wow.
That dude died on the set.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, all right, well, one of y'all is gonna have to die in the name of this
Who
movie.
wants to go
so,
first? uh, yeah, that's a very brutal part, and I mean
but
the entire
no,
movie's filled with brutality and this that gritty,
Death. Yeah.
ugly action,
yeah,
and that really sticks out as like especially heinous, basically.
right. What's his name? Is it
Mhm.
Yayan
Plays Mad Dog.
Ruhan? Plays Mad Dog. Yes. I loved his character. It's I think he plays like a really good bad guy. Like, I mean, and of course I've only seen him play a bad guy in like 2 or 3 movies, but um I loved the fight between him and
Rama and his brother.
was it yeah.
Mm.
Or no,
Oh,
well,
with Joe
the one
Taslim.
preceding that where he like
Yeah.
where he yeah, when he finishes that dude. Like it's one of those like really real moments
Yeah.
of the movie where
Mm-hmm.
like the stakes are high and real. Like, it's not like,
Well,
all the, we mentioned the cannon fodder earlier.
Mhm.
Like, yes, that's true, but like you don't really get to know any of those people, so you're not heartbroken over those people. You're just, you're connected to the main characters.
yeah.
And so when this guy goes down, you're like brought down a level. You're
It's
like,
real
holy shit,
now.
like
Yeah.
the stakes are actually real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that too. It was also like a warriors thing, because right before then everything has there was a lot of guns in the movie. So, you bring a knife to a
Yeah.
gunfight, you're going to lose. And that's kind of what happened in the hallway, when they were trying
Mhm.
to fight each other, and they had this moment where they pulled like, something out for the other guy, and Mad Dog had a gun and the other dude had a knife, and he was like, "Well, I'm fucked, I guess, cuz, I can't win this fight." And I like that
Yeah.
Mad Dog was like, I don't like guns. Let's actually like do this the like old quote unquote old fashioned way. And it
Yeah.
felt like an
Yeah, I
honor
love that.
kind of deal between
Mm.
warriors in a sense sometimes.
No, I love that little tidbit there where, they like you said, he just he he goes on that little rant where he talks about how, he likes the challenge of, or I guess the challenge,
Yeah.
in the fight.
Mhm.
He doesn't like it to be easy. He likes it to be, dirty and
A fight.
raw.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, right. And yeah, and I mean, it's not a fight if you just shoot the dude and he just has a knife. Like, there's no honor in that. So yeah,
Mhm.
I definitely I dug that part of the movie, and the final fight between him and then the two brothers. Like, that was
Yeah.
fucking
I just like that.
dope as shit.
I love this character. I love the actor as well, and his abilities. But I like that he's not a large guy. He's maybe 5'5", 5'6", and
Yes,
like
Yeah.
I agree.
he's still presented as like
Yeah.
the big bad, or like the henchman or the tough guy or the
Mhm.
badass or whatever, number one guy.
He is so bad that he can take two
Mhm.
people on with a light
Yeah.
bulb in his neck for
Yeah.
a good 2
And
minutes.
You don't see that a lot because most of the time in films, like the big bad is 12 feet tall and 300 pounds of solid muscle, and this dude is like I said, 5'5" and $140 soaking wet, literally in this film soaking wet,
Yeah.
and he's just owning these dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool because weight classes exist for a reason in combat sports, and that's true, but it ain't always the size of the dog in a fight. So I thought that was a cool sort
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
inversion of the normal, I guess, plot point with that.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
I also love that in both of these movies, the crime bosses, don't actually fight. They
Mhm.
kind of just sit there
Yeah.
and then they talk. And then they have a gun and they're like, "I'm really evil." I'm gonna kill
They're
you.
basically the claw from Inspector Gadget.
That's it.
Is what I'm understanding.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just them the whole time, and I'm like, wow, I guess they're threatening, but I'm more afraid about their
Yeah,
henchmen.
I mean
but
that's another
okay.
good inversion because in a lot of films and with the
Inspector Gadget.
the head of the crew, the final
The
boss.
final boss per
that's a good way of
se.
putting it. It's like
Yeah.
the leader of the gang, and it's like, oh, you've gone through all my henchmen. They're no one. I'm the guy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these two guys are just like, all right, well, I got a gun.
Yeah.
Kick me now, motherfucker.
Yeah.
No, that's a great call out.
Yeah.
3 points.
But yeah, that's all my thoughts. Ted, you got any final thoughts?
Block out about 2 hours to watch this movie and just revel in it. Then take like an hour nap and then watch The Raid 2. That's a hell of a Saturday afternoon right there.
Yeah, I need to get on that because the Blu-ray copy that I purchased came with that one as well. So
And then watch Avatar: The Last Airbender and
Yes,
compare
and then do
fighting
that.
styles.
And that'll also be a good palate cleanser. So
that has been on
Yes.
that has been on my list for a while because I mean, people that are like, "Hey, if you don't like anime, like it's cool, you'll really like this." And like I've seen clips, and I'm like, "Oh, it looks pretty good." Something that I would legit watch. My watch list is like.
I will say Avatar: The Last Airbender takes at least a whole season to get used to it. Like I don't think you really get attached to the characters until season 2. Like there's a lot of sometimes filler in season 1, and it takes a while for the characters to develop. And by season 2, they know where they're going, and it feels right, and you love them more. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Not all I have to say about Last Airbender, but that's one of the things I have to say about Last Airbender.
Sure. I gotcha. Okay, well, do we want to segue into shit that doesn't suck?
Let's do that.
Segu away.
Segue away.
Nope.
They see me rolling on my Segway.
Oh, okay.
They try to catch me white and nerdy.
Yep, they did.
Nope.
They caught you. I
Red-handed,
caught you
in
right
fact.
here.
All right.
Yes.
Who wants to go first? I myself do not care.
I can go first. Ian, have you ever been on when we do shit that doesn't suck? I can't remember if
I don't
we've ever done
think
it.
so. I've heard it when I listen to the episodes, but I don't think I've been on.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a
Anything.
movie. It could be a
Anything,
TV
really, yeah.
show, book that you read, comic book. Yeah, literally any piece of media
Okay.
is fine.
Okay.
So,
Cool. Let me think. Any piece of media that doesn't suck.
yes.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
Well, okay. Well, I'll go first. All right. So for my shit that doesn't suck this week, bringing it back to what was it, 2004, 2005, I think, with Napoleon Dynamite.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember when this movie came out. It was pretty polarizing. The people that loved it fucking loved it, and the people that didn't,
they hated it.
They just brought the hate for. Yeah, they really did. But I was in the camp of love it. I love this movie. I thought it was stupid and funny. And basically, aside from that one part where he goes, "You guys are retarded," it's like the epitome of clean humor. Like there's like very little of this movie that's like dirty. I mean, I'm not saying that's the reason why I like it, but just an observation. But I don't know. Like this movie is. I don't know, it's classic. It's unique. I still cannot fucking believe that they made this movie on like $16,000. It blows my mind every time I think about that. But yeah, I love this movie. So funny, so good. So yeah. Ian, what do you got?
I'm going to bring in the musicals for these people today.
Ooh,
Because
Class
I
it up.
love the
I think
musicals and
I think I know where you're going. I think I know where you're going with this. Maybe.
So, I think a musical that doesn't suck recently, I think everybody should go and see In the Heights. It's great.
Yes.
It's just as I've seen it on stage, and there are very few musicals, in my opinion, that when transferred from the stage production to a movie, that it gets better. And this is one of those few musicals that I think transitioning from stage to film, the film version actually is better in my opinion. It gives it more depth to different characters. I think one reason why it's so important right now is because of the themes that it has about our culture and the minorities that are
Hmm.
featured. It's also just a fun time. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Like it's a spectacle, and every shot is just shot beautifully. The choreo, the dance numbers are beautiful. It's a really catchy musical, and it's also very heartfelt. So, if you have the time, go support In the Heights because that's a good fun musical time.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it since it hit HBO.
Truly, yeah,
I smashed that add to watch list button, and it's still sitting in there. But I definitely plan on getting to it soon
yeah,
because, like I said, I mean, between you and all my other friends, it's held in very high regard. So
Yeah,
yeah. I
I've
think
not
it's great.
watched it yet.
um,
I'm sure that I will end up watching it, but like David said, I've heard nothing but good things about it. So that's cool. I'm not a huge musical guy. Uh, not enough rocket launchers for me
It's okay.
personally, but
I'm sure there's a musical that has a rocket launcher somewhere, but
uh, could you consider Team America World Police a musical?
yeah, sure.
Because there are definitely
D-
fucking rocket
that's
launchers.
debatable.
Got
Yeah.
rocket launchers and musical numbers, so we're gonna have to go to the judges.
Honestly, make
I'm Sharon Ree.
the guys who the South Park writers who wrote Book of Mormon
Hmm.
could probably write a musical with rocket launchers in it
Well, I'm
because
gonna
it's
send a letter to the
Do
editor,
it.
so to
yeah.
speak,
Do
to
it
those
now.
guys and see what we can come up with. But I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. My shit that doesn't suck this week. I finally was able to watch this documentary I've been wanting to see since it came out a few years ago, and that is "Won't You Be My Neighbor," the documentary on Mister Rogers. And
Oh,
man, he was a real one. That's all. That's all to really say about it.
how
I
many
I
times
will
did
be
you cry,
honest and say
Ted?
that I did not, but it was not for lack of tear jerk moments.
Hmm.
I am just dead inside. So I am so jaded I am no longer able to feel normal human feelings.
If he
Yeah.
cried, it
Yeah.
would be dust.
Yes.
So
But it is very good. And I think it does a obviously anytime you have a documentary like this, you worry about it drifting too far into like hero worship. Um and
Hmm.
mm,
and I think that it has some of that, but I also think that they do a good job of number one framing him as a human being who had faults. They bring up a couple of instances where he regretted things or did things that he would come to regret later, or that people kind of say were not maybe not terrible things that he did, but like maybe weren't the
mhm.
best choices to make. So I think it does a yeah
He's a
I think it
flawed
does
human.
a
Yeah.
good job of presenting that. Uh, it was on HBO Max. It may still be. I'm not
Hmm.
100% sure, but I'm sure you can find other options to stream it or
I
to
think it
purchase it or to
is.
rent it. So that's Won't
Yeah,
You Be My Neighbor? Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that will
I
do it
need
for
to
this
add that
week.
to my list.
Um, yeah, we have one more episode in our martial arts
I
series. That'll
think
be
so.
next week. David, what did we decide to cover for that? I should know this, and yet here we are.
I forget what it is. I mean, we haven't come up with an official title, but it's basically U.S. movies that have that are heavily influenced by Eastern um, fighting styles
Okay,
like
right on.
Muay
Yeah.
Thai
Mm.
and
They're usually not as
Kung
good, but we're
Fu.
gonna
And
pick some that are fun, at least. Excuse me. As always, you can
Yes.
find us on social media. Search out the Geek Garage Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, where we normally have a poll up at least once a week, and that is on the group page, Geek Garage Podcast fans and listeners. You can support the podcast in a few different ways on social media by liking or joining the groups, of course, as well as by subscribing or following or whatever the hell they're calling it now on whatever podcast app you like to use. You can also give reviews where applicable. We ask that you commit to the bit, lock it in, and give us either a 1 or a 5-star. We don't do any of this fence walking bullshit. You can't be what's the saying about moving trains? You can't be neutral on a moving train.
Yeah.
That's a really dramatic way. That's a really dramatic way of saying
Is
give
that
us
a
a review,
saying?
you bastards. Excuse me.
Yeah.
If you would
do it
like
or
to
else.
support the podcast in other ways, those are free, but you can support the podcast in other ways by becoming a patron. Patreon donors get some cool perks like a unique and exclusive button and sticker set, some behind the scenes stuff that we're going to start one day, we promise, and some cool stuff like that. You can also search out and find David's Etsy shop, which is tangential to the podcast, called Geek Garage Gear. You can tell we like alliteration here at the podcast.
Yep.
It's got a bunch of cool stuff that's nerd
We
and geek
do.
inspired. So a lot of tumblers. David can talk a little bit more about that. But yes, it's on Tumblr.
Yeah,
He's
it's
actually
Tumblr,
selling the
that's it.
website Tumblr. So you can buy from
Yeah.
Yahoo because they
From
fucked up.
Yahoo.
Anyway, yeah. David, did I miss anything? All right. Well, Ian, thank you again. I'm
I
sorry
think
that
that
we had to
covers it
subject you
all.
to this, but you chose this for yourself. Remember that. No takebacks. Yeah.
No, I did.
Well, that's,
I am a
good to know.
masochist, so that's why I'm here.
This is me at my most masochistic.
Yes,
Thank
that's
you.
a
I
teaser
got
for,
that.
for next
Thank
week's
you.
episode.
Yeah. Got that reference.
All right. Well, thank you all
Yes,
for
in fact,
tuning
it was.
in. David, shut it down.
Okay. Well, listeners, thank you for coming. Ian, thank you again.
Of course, thank you.
You're my favorite.
Aw, thank you.
And yes, as always, be kind, stay geeky, and eat lots of cheesecake. Oh, bye-bye.
That's all she wrote, folks.
Did it.